Swatika!
Swatika.
Greetings from Thailand. So we made it here and this is our first update. In the video that we previously did, I said it would be very interesting to record a video in a month's time and see what's different, what's the same, you know, how we feel about things, and so this is that video. We said we weren't sure where we were going to be living. We are living here in this beautiful house, which I will do a video about the house, but yeah, we've been so blessed to get this place really cheap and just perfect for us. Like the amount of bedrooms and the space that it has, and it's also in like a little, what would you call it?
Like mini village?
Yeah, kind of like, almost like a group of units. And it's got a garden, which is really nice because going from country living to city living was a little bit difficult for me in that I really like nature, and so the fact that I'm surrounded by trees and fruit trees that we can eat the fruit from, and you know, gardens and stuff is really nice, and it means that the kids can run around and play. Most mornings they're hassling the neighbours, which the neighbours love, and we weren't sure what we were going to be doing exactly.
Yeah, so it's amazing how quickly some things fell into place. So in terms of, I guess, if you want to call it ministry, we once a week we go to an orphanage and we just do some English and music with them. And yeah, at the moment there's a squirrel running across our carport.
Lots of wildlife around.
Yeah, there's squirrels in Thailand. It's pretty fun. Yeah, so we go there once a week to do some English and some music, and at the moment I'd say it's more about sort of building a relationship with the kids and starting to learn some of their names, and they get excited when we arrive now, and yeah, so that's pretty fun. And then every Thursday afternoon we go out to one of the villages outside of the city, and I guess you could say we run like a bit of a church service. For Sarah and myself, we play with the kids, and yeah, so we just go out and play games with them for the first hour, and what's really helpful is having our kids there. We can use them as the demonstrators because we still can't speak the language, obviously. So trying to explain things to the Thai kids can be difficult, but when we can just demonstrate with our own kids, it's really handy, except when there's puppies there. And then they just completely get distracted and don't help us at all, but that's okay.
Yeah, and then after we've played with the kids, because lots of kids come, Wolfgang preaches, and you know, he does a video with the kids and then he teaches the adults, and it's we do some singing, and it's more like a, you know, sort of church service thing, and me and Matt just kind of sit back and pick up a couple of Thai words and try to get an idea of what's going on, and Matt will play an instrument during the worship and stuff, and yeah, and I mean, as we pick up the language more, we'll be able to understand more of what's happening, but quite often I take that time to just quietly sit and enjoy God's presence, and I pray as well, and I pray that the people at the church service will understand what God's speaking to them. And yeah, so even though it's a church service in a different language that I don't understand, like, I find it's really valuable time for me.
There's church on Sunday, which I've already jumped up and gone to a music rehearsal and played some bass with them. A big part of what we're doing at the moment, other than just getting set up and established, is starting to make connections. And for me, that's it's been quite exciting, making a few connections sort of within the instrument makers and the music and musicians. Still very much a long way to go with that, but actually needing a couple of instruments has been quite helpful, because I went to one of the main Morlam or Isan music store and had a great chat with the lady who ran it, and learnt a lot more about the instruments. I already bought a can. And in order to get a pin, which is their style of guitar, I needed to get one made. And I've since gotten in contact with a couple more instrument makers. I went out to a studio the other day and actually met one of them and saw some of his instruments, which were amazing instruments.
And so it's also just a lot of what we would be doing back home, of making connections with people. And like, there's a lady up the road that I quite often pass her house, because houses are quite open here and they're really sort of right on the street. So when I walk past, like I'm basically walking right past a person's lounge room. And there's a lady there, she speaks a little bit of English, and she's got to know my name, and usually Rachel comes with me down that alleyway when we go to market, and so she knows Rachel's name, and we have a little bit of a chat because she speaks a little bit of English, and hopefully I'll be able to speak a bit more Thai soon so I can talk to her a little bit more in her language. And yeah, just with our neighbours, like we chat to them, and yeah, just making connections in the community. Yeah, we talked about what we thought we would struggle with, and happy to report one of the things we were really concerned about struggling with was the heat coming from Kumar, which is a very cold, dry climate, to this very hot, humid climate. We arrived here right in the start of the hot season. Thankfully, it actually hasn't been too hot, so the weather has been very kind to us, but we're actually...
Just a steady low 30s.
Yeah,
mid-30s.
So low to mid-30s. Once you get over the fact that you're just sweating all the time, it's... I've actually found it's not too bad.
So coping quite well with the heat. However, one thing that I don't think we were quite prepared for is the incredible amount of mosquitoes around. And so far, we've tried lots of different things to try and combat the mosquitoes, but one of the best approaches is just to cover up. And so I'm finding, 90% of the time now I will just wear long pants and socks, and then they can't get me. But it also means in, 35-degree heat, I'm wearing pretty thick jeans and socks, and it's kind of like, this is crazy. If I was home, I would be shorts, bare feet, and so that's a little challenging.
Yeah, I think that's been the biggest... Oddly enough, one of the bigger challenges that we weren't expecting was just the mosquitoes, because they are completely attacking the kids. And when we went to church, some of the Thai women were actually quite concerned about how many mosquito bites the kids had. And malaria is not something that we need to worry about here, but dengue fever is, and so that can be quite dangerous. Yeah, so, and obviously it's unpleasant for the kids to be covered in mosquito bites, and they're itchy, and if they're scratching them, they can get infected, and especially around here, like, the streets aren't all that clean, and when we go out to the village, the kids are playing in the dirt, and there's, like, cow poo and stuff, so, yeah, them getting infections is, quite something we just need to be careful of. So, yeah, we've got mosquito nets, and, we're doing everything we can to combat the mosquitoes, and there's only so much we can do, and yeah, we're sort of getting on top of it, but...
So the other thing I was a little bit, worried about was the language barrier, and I would say it's still quite challenging. There's been a couple of occasions where I've gone to sort of try and communicate something to a Thai person, and they have no English at all, and so they kind of... I speak to them in English and they speak to me in Thai, and then we just stare at each other blankly. And I'm quite enjoying learning the language.
Yeah, we're doing a couple of hours of language lessons a week, and then just trying to practice it as much as possible. And I've downloaded some Thai TV shows, and they have the English subtitles, so I'll listen really carefully to the Thai as I'm reading the subtitles, and just trying to pick up stuff. And every time I'm out, I really try to listen in for words that I recognise and that kind of thing. And I've been putting in a big effort to learn how to read Thai, and that's sort of helping with the language and stuff as well. So yeah, we're certainly working pretty hard at the moment on the language.
Yeah, with regards to other things that I was looking forward to, the meeting new people has been wonderful. Learning the music is great. I've got my can and I'm starting to learn how to play it. There is so much for me to learn, but I'm really excited for the challenge.
I said I was excited about learning from people, and yeah, that's been great. I have learnt a lot, and it's been interesting to look at this culture compared to our culture. It's been really good for, I guess, expanding my worldview. I was saying that I couldn't handle spicy food. Oh goodness, I've done well with that. I've started adding a little bit of spice to everything, and now I'll eat something that before would have been too spicy for me. I wouldn't have been able to finish the dish, and now it's like, oh, I didn't really even notice it was that spicy. So yeah, I still haven't had too many things that have been really, really hot, but yeah, I'm coping with that so much better than I thought I was going to. So that's pretty exciting for me. I was excited about how much time we'd be spending as a family, and also a little bit nervous about that. And yeah, it's been really wonderful family time. I didn't realise how valuable the kids were going to be with the ministry work that we're doing. So because we're doing so much with kids, having our kids there has been absolutely brilliant. And they've been playing with the kids, and yeah, like we said, they, because we don't speak very much of the language, we'll tell our kids what to do and they'll demonstrate, and then the Thai kids pick it up pretty quickly. You know, there's sometimes some funny misunderstandings, but overall it goes really well. And yeah, and the kids have really loved it. They've really settled in. I was a bit concerned how they were going to go, especially our oldest, Rachel, I thought would be quite homesick, but she said she hasn't really been missing home at all. She's been having too much fun. She loves living in the city where it's very busy and there's things happening, and you know, she can go down to the shops, which are literally like just outside the driveway. And yeah, and you know, Ben's settled in. I wasn't too worried about him. He's pretty happy, and Zoe's happy, and Jessica is just being so spoiled because she's the littlest and she's got light curly hair and she's a little cutie and everyone just loves her. So she's getting very spoiled, getting driven around on motorbikes and all by grandmas. And yeah, I'll you know, walk outside and I'll just hear the ladies, Jessica, Jessica.
Even sometimes they'll come to our door and they're not calling for Sarah or me. They come to the door and, yeah, Jessica.
Yeah, that's who they want to see, not us. So we are now looking at enrolling the kids in school. The international school we originally looked at was going to be way too expensive, but then through Matt chatting to someone at church and then getting a connection somewhere else, there's a school here that it looks like we can actually afford. And yeah, it would be really good for the kids to be able to experience the Thai culture in that way. So going to a school, because it is a Thai school, but it has teachers who speak English as well. So this will be really good for the kids picking up the language and also us making more connections into the community. So yeah, I think that'll actually be a really good thing. We can also, if we find we want to have the kids with us for ministry things, they said that's fine. We can have them out of school for that day. Something I was surprised is actually how much fun I've been having. Like, yes, there's been some really difficult things and some really stressful things, and you know, there's been tears and arguments and various different things, but yeah, I'm just having a lot more fun than I thought I was going to have. I thought it was going to be a lot harder and a lot more stressful, and it's probably as hard as I thought it was going to be in slightly different ways than I expected, but yeah, I wasn't expecting to be having all the fun, and yeah, so it's nice. I'm liking it a lot more than I thought I would. Our big announcement is that we originally were coming for 6 months, and everyone was like, oh, you'll be there longer, and it's like, hey, we're willing to maybe, but you know,
it didn't even take a month for us to change our minds.
Yeah, so we're here for at least a year now. Please continue to pray for us, and yeah, we'll bring you another sort of update, and I'll be doing videos just to show our house and various different things we're doing. So yeah, look out for those.
And we are accepting and very grateful for any sponsorship people would be willing to commit. It does help a lot.
Yes, because actually, yeah, that was something that we weren't expecting. We had some COVID issues and just some other unexpected costs. So we did have a buffer of money in our savings that if we needed to, we could tap into. And we've tapped into it. So we weren't expecting that to happen. We were expecting that we would completely be able to live off our rent from our house, and then we would have this extra money for any surprise expenses, or if we just went over a little bit on our budget one week or whatever. That's one of the things that worked out a little bit differently than what we had thought. And thank you so much to those who have offered to give us just either one-off donations or help us monthly, weekly, whatever. Like, yeah, we really appreciate that.
And now we shall say farewell in the very complicated way that the Thais say farewell, which is bye-bye.
No, they don't. They say sawadika.
Oh, no, they also say bye. Bye-bye.
Swatika.
It's going